Hi, and welcome to the Angels, Magic and Joy podcast. We're your hosts, Kirsty Jandra and Kate Rajba, here to sprinkle a little inspiration, guidance, and magic into your day. Join us as we explore the spiritual journeys of our guests and share stories that uplift and inspire. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode and let us know what you think. Now, let's dive in.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Angels, Magic and Joy podcast. And today Kate and I are joined by a very special and beautiful guest, Katerina Satori. Welcome Katerina. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, ladies. Yes.
Oh, and Katerina is a true polymath. She's a spiritual mentor, a transformational guide, a prosperity consciousness teacher, and she helps visionaries turn their dreams into reality. So she was born in the Soviet Union during its collapse and then migrated to the US with just $3 and an unshakable vision of a different life. She started out as a housekeeper. She became a relentless student of consciousness, manifestation and spiritual law, testing every principle in the crucible of our own transformation and taking her from scarcity to abundance. And now today, Katerina works with entrepreneurs, creatives, spiritual seekers worldwide, guiding them to unlock their unique gifts and build businesses that serve while sustainably prospering. And her approach weaves many ancient wisdom traditions, from yoga philosophy to shamanic principles to quantum mechanics, with practical application, making profound spiritual concepts accessible and actionable. So, Katerina, thank you again for joining us today. And I feel as though that introduction really doesn't quite do you justice, because you have so much beauty that you're bringing through. So can you tell us a little bit more about what lights you up in your work and how you came to be of service in so many beautiful ways, please?
I am a lover of beauty as this subtle energy that is underneath everything that we see. The beauty of our heart, the beauty of our soul, the beauty of our creativity. So I always lived with the question, what is possible to create in one lifetime? And especially in a lifetime as dramatic and dynamic and deeply transformative as this one. And what is possible when we begin to hear the voice of our intuition and our soul, and we learn to work with magic as a divine act, and we orient ourselves to joy. So when I saw the name of your podcast, I was like, oh, this is exactly what I teach. How joy is a heartbeat of everything. And when we orient ourselves, so joy lights me up, the beauty lights me up. I constantly create beauty anywhere I go. I'm a lover of creating these devotional altars. There was a time where I ran out of spaces in the house because everywhere was an altar to a particular deity or a principle or, an earth element. And I find that when we put beauty at the center, it elevates our spirit, it attracts higher beings, right? And then, and it nourishes our spirit. So that's what lights me up. And then when you called me a polymath, Christy, it's so interesting because just last night I said, I am ready to really own this. I am a polymath. And for so long, I was fighting this division within me because I heard so many messages that you only need to pick one lane and become a master of this one thing. And it always felt very limiting to me. And I said, no, we are multidimensional beings. We are meant to express our gifts in as many ways as we would like, as many interests as we would like. So after almost a decade of being in that contemplation and conversation, I'm finally standing in this very anchored place that we can be multi-talented, multi-passionate, And that's the key to vitality of our creativity.
I absolutely love that, and I have the same. I would run out of space in the house for all the altars, and my family already knows. We're not allowed to blow the candles. We need to wait for them, so they always know to ask. Don't blow the candles, okay? Might be an offering. And speaking of beauty, and that light within us, it's always very much connected with the prosperity. And I wanted to ask you, Katerina, about your recent work, divine prosperity. What does it mean? Okay. Why and is it important for us, at this time of deep transition, if it is transition or if it is already done anyway, regardless of whoever sees it, however. So what is the divine prosperity, Katerina? How would you, explain, if I've never heard of anything like that?
Yeah, it is that understanding that our divine self is inherently prosperous. There is a well within every person. And if we learn how to access it, this well is rich, overflowing with imagination, creative ideas, deep original wisdom. So our task is to learn to access that well. And other people are designed by divine design. Other people are meant to quench their thirst by coming to our well with their buckets. And they see that we have the glow of our unique gift that is an answer to this challenge and a struggle, or a search that they've been on. And they meet us, and through our aura they begin to see something glows within us, and it's in our well, and it's our unique gift or talent. So other people are meant to quench their thirst from our well, and the same thing us. We meet other people, our mentors, our guides, our collaborators, and we recognize their glow in that soul resonance. Right? So that's the first idea. The well of prosperity is within. The second idea, we are going through a huge transformation on the planet where these false egoic ideas of limitless physical resources are collapsing. Right? I remember, maybe 5 years ago, I had this, again, like very surface-based teaching in entrepreneurial circles, that the earth has so many resources. If everybody wanted to be a millionaire, they could. And that never landed for me. I was like, I don't think that's true. I think the earth has enough resources not to satisfy our egoic, selfish desires, but to provide a nourishing and supportive environment for us to work with the earth. So what I'm seeing in entrepreneurial circles is the collapse of these false structures, false ideas based on greed, conscious or unconscious, that there is just so many resources we can't exhaust it. And we see that as false. And what is inexhaustible is our inner resources. Our creativity is inexhaustible. We're designed to dive within and come up with a new solution, with a new idea of how we can work together, how we can support each other, how can we inspire each other. I see there's a great call to simplicity right now on the planet, where we begin to cherish the resources that we have. We're seeing that this frivolous spending of resources always has a cost. So we begin to, there's a movement right now of actually younger generation there called upcycling. I don't know if you have that in Europe, but here in the US, it's a younger generation, 20 years younger than me. They don't want to buy new clothes because they're deeply concerned with all the clothes that people throw away ends up in the landline. It contributes to the problem of pollution that we have. So they're very concerned that they're coming up with resourcefulness, saying, let's take this old clothes that nobody wants and let's give it makeover. And that's what we want to wear. So this is a human creativity. This is a richness of human creativity in action. So I am seeing we have this whole new reorientation of values on the planet. We are learning to be rich, not through only external things, but from doing the work that makes our heart sing. From instead of going out and wasting $100 on the meal, we learn to cook together and invite each other to home, right? And I'm a lover of beauty. I'm a lover of all the amazing things. I'm a Leo, 5 planets in Leo. I love all the good things. And there has been a deeper orientation in my values lately. And I've been cooking more, I've been inviting people to my home, I've been opening my heart to the beauty of things that money can't buy. And that creates a true enrichment. So Divine Prosperity Oracle is this 88 teachings that are rooted in the prosperity that comes from divinity, comes from your divine self, that is grounded, that is nourishing, that is not depleting, right? That is like overflowing because it comes from the well that can never run out, and it's an inner well.
When you're talking about the well, Katerina, and prosperity, would you say it differs within the feminine and masculine energy? Would you say there is a difference in, creating creativity and achieving that prosperity? It's really about the feeling of prosperity, isn't it? Because it's nothing ever exterior, it's actually that we feel, because you can have all the things in the world, but you can still feel empty. It's about the feeling, really. Would you say we would achieve that state differently through different, of course we're both, but would you say there is a difference between, feminine and masculine way of achieving that?
Yes. In order to dive into your inner well, you get to become still and receptive and connected to the web of life. And that's the feminine. Right? That's our inner feminine that becomes the belt that opens up. And through stillness and contemplation and beingness, like some of my favorite meditation is listening to the sounds of nature. Just sit and listen and become very intimate to this membrane of the space around me. And then something bubbles up on the surface of my well as an idea, an inspiration, as an image. And then my inner masculine is the one that goes and picks up the phone and calls or publishes a post or creates an offer. Yes, so they work together, and I love this conversation of the sacred union within our energetics. And it's truly, this is the key to being a sovereign creator, or sovereign leader, or sovereign mystic, right? Is learning to engage both of these energies to co-create the heaven on earth with Mother Earth together.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. And so rich, and just as you say, so both of you, that's so pertinent now. That I love the concept of, you've brought it forward, that we have everything within us, and when we connect with, as you put it, this beautiful web and Mother Earth, when we're in that connection, that oneness, to realize that there is nowhere else to look. It's all here, and it's in ourselves and in this connection, and bringing in that beautiful union. It's gorgeous. Thank you. I'm really interested in you, Katerina, in the sense that you bring this, and again this word beauty comes up, this beautiful blend, and I feel it's quite rare even now, of sort of deeply spiritual work with practical business knowledge. I mean, you just brought up those lovely, that example of the younger generation upcycling. I know that you're such a pure channel as well, and you've actually founded a school of channeling, which is absolutely gorgeous. And I know that with this work as a channel, you work with visionary leaders to help them maximize their potential, whilst again paving this way for an abundant future for all. So I'd love it if you could sort of tell us more about how you bring all these threads together, how you weave them so beautifully and coherently together, please.
I find that deep mysticism is just it's embedded in my soul. It's a culmination of many lifetimes of being a mystic. It's something, it's my soul's song to connect people to this direct experience of the sacred. And for me to bring this message of the mysticism to the earth plane, to ground it on the earth plane, I had to make a choice to develop myself as an entrepreneur. You know, the entrepreneurial topics are the earth element. It's the pentacles and the tarot, right? It's this earth element that truly brings all the other elements together. So I was, I had to come to this realization that if I don't learn the business skills that I needed, I will never realize my soul mission. And it was just a really direct realization. And I'll give you an example, Christy. And when the beginning of my path as an entrepreneur, I just kept attracting people who, whether it's airports or conferences, simply through proximity of my energy, they would open up and start telling me their secrets and what are they struggling with life. And, and I would listen. And then after they would find out what I do as a mentor, as a coach, they'll be like, oh my gosh, how can I hire you? What do I do? And I didn't know how to create a bridge between somebody's interest and actually them stepping into the work and receiving transformation that they need. And it was so painful to experience this over and over again. I felt like the metaphor I would use, like these giant 747 Boeings planes circling around me, but I don't have a land strip for them to land. So they just circle and circle and circle, but they have nowhere to land. So developing business skills was like, I am going to develop a landing strip. I am going to build a pathway that is clear and easy for you to step into, right? So this entrepreneurship skill set is very empowering because it's the deepest self-work that you will meet. When you become an entrepreneur or when you begin to run your own business, spiritual business, it's an accelerated path to seeing all of the wounds, all of the wounds that you try to never touch again, the wound of rejection, the wound of expression, the wound of, feeling like you're not good enough, you don't do good enough. And a lot of us healers and intuitive and channelers, the reason why we have such powerful psychic abilities is because we come from a difficult past. And we had to overcome a lot to open up our psychic gifts and psychic abilities. We had to overcome a lot of resistance. So to bring this incredible psychic genius and to develop a business skill, I find that it's like a unique marriage of the gifts. And then it eventually becomes fun for you because you're like, I can navigate this earthly plane from the place of sovereignty. And sovereignty, my favorite definition of sovereignty is that unique blend of freedom and power that you unlock from within. The power of your soul, the power of your self-worth. And I gotta tell you, my deepest wounds are in self-worth. I grew up in a very turbulent childhood where I did not feel seen, did not even feel noticed, right? My needs were not only acknowledged, there was no space to be even voice them. It creates a deep fracture of your self-worth and self-esteem. Not only that, my mom had to leave me with the grandmother halfway across the country at only 1 month old. So the bonding towards my mother never happened. And then when I lived with my parents, I lived with alcoholics, with domestic abuse, and a lot of drama. Again, it creates deep fractures to your self-worth. Like, what is your worth if this is the parents that you got, right? So when I stepped into leading myself in the business world, I had to face all of that. And I had to just lovingly to tend to those wounds. And the more I would empower myself in business, the more I would learn, you know what? I'm going to learn marketing. I'm going to learn sales. I'm going to learn communication. It helped me repair of those wounds of self-worth, right? It helped me like really stand strongly on knowledge and build confidence brick by brick, skill by skill. And this is what I aim to do in my work, is to help people who are very purpose driven, who have good hearts, have a lot to give, for them to embrace this confidence that yes, you can learn business as well, but not in a dry way from the textbook that doesn't work. Real business school isn't a real life, right? Every day is a business school. So, and that's the gift of what we have, you know, with online businesses. We have this amazing opportunity right now, especially as women. Like, we've never had such level of sovereignty in any of our lifetimes, and it's the only battle that we really need to win is the battle for our mind, right? Because there's a lot of competing storylines in the collective mind that can really destabilize you. So every day we get to guard our mind and to keep connected to our soul and to our joy and to our feminine magic, because I truly see this world is being reborn through women leading the way, through empowered women leading the way, and their partners, whether it's a feminine partners, a masculine partner, or anything in between, the partners backing them up. But it's the women leaders who are moving humanity forward right now.
What about you, Kirsty? Because you're in business so many years. How did you change, you know, did it affect you, you know, on your so-called spiritual path? How did you change, you know, as a person? Because you're so many years in business, you know that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I just listening to Katerina, just it's I love the way you've woven them together so beautifully throughout. It seems for me, it's I kept very much my spiritual practice, which I've had for many years, most of my adult life, and my business self very separate. Apart from the only crossover was teaching yoga. And apart from that, most of it was hidden for so many years. And you talk about the wound of, you know, visibility and unworthiness and all of that. And I'm really sort of honouring your story. But yeah, for me, I think it's only been in the past 5 years where I've actually realised, do you know what? It's actually very safe for me to step out in my authenticity as a spiritual being, as we all are. And I found the wounds came up, but when I've been able to actually really, and you talked about ownership, owning just the alignment, the soul alignment, and stepped out visibly, spiritually, it's actually nurtured my business, which is not, I mean, they're all spiritual, all businesses are spiritual, but it's actually sort of fed into it, and it's become almost like an energetic exchange, like a lemniscate. One feeds the other, and the more that supports me to do my service work in the world or my spiritual work, the more it gives back, and it's beautiful. But it's taken me so long to realise that actually the two can come together so beautifully. And so thank you, Kate, for that question. And I think that, Katerina, you talk about, you know, women leading and us having these opportunities, and I think you're absolutely right. I look back at my mum, who didn't have the opportunities to be sovereign that I have, and I'm so grateful for that. And I feel it's our work to pave the way for the next generations to continue to step into their sovereignty even more. So it's super exciting. Yes, it's dramatic, isn't it, at the time we're in, but it's such an exciting time for us to be, you know, stepping in these shoes that we're wearing as spiritual people, as business leaders, as women. So that's a very, very long response, Kate. But you wish you hadn't asked now. But yeah, it's been a journey, but I feel so blessed now to have actually come into some sort of wholeness and alignment, which is
Business wholeness.
Business wholeness.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it so interesting that we somehow got the message that they have to be separate.
Mm,
Yeah, it's kind of a collective message because I have
yes.
met so many women who really struggled with that.
Yeah.
And it's but they are like when you were sharing, Christy, I saw the infinity symbol. They are feeding each other and nourishing each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel changed after the pandemic? Do you think that was a major shift, or do you think it's been more recent than that? I'm just interested because obviously you've been working with leaders very closely, and yeah,
Oh
just
yeah, after 2020, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, everything really shifted because people realized, uh, gosh, there was just such yearning for a deeper meaning, right? And the only way you could navigate your business terrain if you had a higher purpose, if you had a higher meaning, then and if you were truly connected to your soul mission, right? And that's what the source of resilience is. When you're connected to something higher, it gives you resilience. It gives you strength. It gives you this inner buoyancy to rise above any circumstances.
Okay,
Yeah.
wow.
what are the gene
Thank you.
codes? Keys. Keys. What are the gene keys?
Oh, the Jinkies, the Jinkies. I love that map so much, ladies. The Jinkies. Oh my goodness. Yeah, almost 100 private readings I've delivered through the years, and I just kind of like do them on the side. I rarely promote them, but I use this system every single day in my life. And why? Because it's not a fast solution. It's a wisdom that unlocks on its own mysterious time, right? And for example, I was contemplating on this body of work for 10 years, and just recently I had the biggest illumination around my gift, my core gift, and my core wound. And for a long time, it eluded me. I couldn't really, I was like trying to penetrate it, but only on the surface. And then illumination came from within. It's a wisdom that orients you within. It gives you a map that shows you 11 archetypes that you chose to express this lifetime, right? And 11 fears that you will be battling until you transcend them, or 11 wounds. And it's a really beautiful map because whenever I show the map for somebody who is interested, I just wait before I tell anything. I just say, does anything connects to you? And they're like, oh, how did you know this and this and this and this? Right? So it's very like immediately it will catch you, but then for those who are ready, they will begin to get nourished. When I first was introduced to the Jinkies, I said, this is like a superfood for my spiritual DNA. Finally, there is an advanced spiritual knowledge. I don't want to live on crackers alone. Give me some hemp seeds. Give me some spirulina of a spiritual nutrition, right? And I almost pushed it away because 10 years ago, I was obsessed with human design, which is another sister system. And I was like, I'm studying this, and then my friend's like, if you like human design, I think you like gene keys. First of all, the name is weird. I was like, Gene, what? And I was like, I don't. And then the second thing, I was like, I don't have time to study another system. And he says, why didn't you just read first chapter? And if it grabs you, you'll be so grateful that you actually trusted this. And if not, not. I said, fine. So I went and I downloaded the first chapter. And I said, and I just melted from the first paragraph. So it's a divine feminine wisdom that is channeled by Richard Rudd, right? He's a great synthesizer. Christy, here's another proof for us that the future of spiritual business is synthesis. And what he did in such a genius way, he weaved Kabbalah, I Ching, numerology, theosophy, the wisdom of archangels, the wisdom of seven rays. It just all, and he channeled. He contemplated deeply on one on one chapter at a time and just channeled it. And he contradicts himself in the book. You'll be like, oh, wait, he just said this in this chapter and this chapter. It's an illogical, wild wisdom of the heart. So you got to read it with your heart. And what it aims to do, it aims to activate these codes of genius within you. And which really supports my work, because I have found that we are born with a particular genius. We don't find it, we don't develop it later. We are born with genius, and what we need to do is to activate it and to express it. And that's what Gene Keys does. It helps you accelerate that process.
Yeah. Thank you. I was listening to Richard Rudd being interviewed actually, and talking about last year's Gene Key, and he gave the experience of bringing it through, and that he literally spent 3 days, I think it was, without sleep, just receiving this information and it's fascinating. And what an amazing man. So amazing mystic. So it's lovely that you're just bringing those forth. Well, we'll put all the details in the show notes, so if people feel called to a reading with you, they will know exactly where to come. Thank you.
I love that, Christy. And is it okay if I jump in on something?
Yeah.
About the download, right? The download mode is another way we access our brilliance. I feel that there is nothing extraordinary, special around that phenomena. If we only open ourselves up, like, I'm available for divine download, call it in, right? I'm available for so my partner knows when I'm in a download mode, I'm just receiving. I have 7 journals that I'm keeping, each for the different topics, but I'm in download mode and I'm just receiving. It's like one illumination after another, and everything slows down in my external world because I'm in a download mode, right? And that's the feminine. The feminine receives all these impressions from a different dimension, deep dimensions of life. So I dare to invite other beings who are available for this. Let's open ourselves up for divine downloads. That it's not a rare thing to spend 3 days on divine download. This is the future human potential, where we become so porous to deeper dimensions. The deeper dimensions work through us and with us, and then we can accelerate this innovation that is trying to break through in this planet. We receive, sustainable energy and all these different technologies that is trying to come through, but they need physical vessels, us, to download. So if we do our work, why are we drawn to spiritual work? Besides just feeling good and coherent, we're becoming receptive vessels for divine brilliance to download into us. Let's normalize that. Let's make that normal.
That's so beautiful. Thank you. And Kate and I are both nodding enthusiastically, and
yes, you're living it.
yeah. I mean, Kate's an artist amongst many other talents. So I'm just wondering, Kate, when you get sort of inspiration for your art, or your poetry, or whatever you do, did you feel that sort of okay? Because I know for me, I realized, like Katerina, I'm just like, right, I've got to get this through. I've got this information has to come through. I have to get it down somehow. How do you experience that, Kate? Do you have the same thing? That sort of...
you completely lose yourself.
Absolutely.
And it's not only in art, it's anything that I lose myself, even just with ideas, anything really, completely, losing yourself. And I love that you said that the external doesn't exist. And for someone that doesn't experience that as much, it's hard for them to, it's like, why didn't you reach out for 5 hours? It's like, because I was in the zone. I was in the zone, and there's no sense of time. There's no sense of, and it's almost like it just happens through you. Not that you are doing something, you are producing, you are creating, but it's just almost happening through you. Of course, it's always that the divine, we are that. So that sparkle, it is us. So it's nothing exterior, it's always the within, but it is kind of exterior because it's like kind of through us. It's hard to put it into human words, but it is that. I love how you said that the external doesn't exist, and that sense of time, it's almost like a psychedelic experience, because you're like you are in a different zone, and different, I suppose, different parts of your brain are also operating. And I will always, it's hard for me to explain. It's like I'm always either in the I call it, I'm either in the creative mode or in the organizing mode. And I'm like, it's like, even last night I was designing a logo for something. I was like, God, I have to clean, and I can't. I'm in a creative mode. Okay, so please have understanding for all the channelers and artists that we're in a mode, so we can't be in two modes at the same time. I don't know if you can relate to that, Katerina. We can't be cleaning and organizing and doing the shopping list when we're channeling. Okay.
Yes, Kate, you're brilliant. Yeah, as I was scrubbing my tub yesterday, I was in a cleaning mode, and I was like, I want to clean everything. I want to organize everything, clean it. And my partner and I, painting the walls in our dining room and living room, and making everything more like pearly white. So definitely it was no channeling. It was cleaning, organizing. I love that you just named that. Thank you. Ah, what a gift.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I can feel a t-shirt slogan coming on. Don't interrupt me, I'm channeling. Something like this. Oh, bless.
Resting channeling face.
Yes. Love it.
Oh.
And it's so
And I love
interesting.
also, we have the so-called depression, and I love that there's a name put on it, depression, but it's actually, I've seen this video of whatever channel, they were saying it's not depression, it's compression. You're in a zone when you are compressed, and whatever version of you that didn't resonate, that it's not true, you compress the information, and now you're and then you have decompression. So instead of calling it depression, it's actually we there's so many states that we are in, but the society told us, named it in a negative way. Or especially us as women, we have our 21-day cycle. Okay, how many days? Whatever. Men have 24-hour cycle. We have our cycle is much longer. And it's I used to feel so guilty, why some of the days I'm just so lazy, why some days I'm so productive. And then when actually I got it, because now I'm in that stage, now I'm in that phase, and when you kind of make okay with it, you're actually really productive. Because in being so-called unproductive, where you actually are productive, because you're resting mode is also productive. It's like so many labels were put on us to completely destroy our sense of who we are, right? When it's actually all needed, and it's all part. And when and I've noticed that the moment I'm okay with the resting mode, with the compression mode, with that mode, it just all aligns in a one big puzzle and makes sense, rather than constantly sabotaging myself because of all the stupid labels. I don't know if you guys resonate with that.
Oh yeah, so deeply. I call it the holy melancholy. Oh, the holy melancholy has arrived. Okay. So what do we need? It's not the time to engage with the world. It's not the time to be on the leadership front lines. It's a time to feed my soul with beauty and nature. And I'm 10 minutes away from the ocean. And so I have this practice of ritual magic. I call red magic. So I talk to the elements, and I make offerings to them, and this is the time to make offerings. This is the time to speak to the wind, to the rain, to the earth, to the seagulls. I call all seagulls Jonathan, from the famous book Jonathan Seagull. I bring them bread. It's like, hey Jonathans, here I am. Yes, you can fly. Don't ever believe anybody otherwise. So it's like it's a time to be with yourself. So I'm really so grateful that you named that, Kate, because I am right there with you. And I've never heard this amazing term of compression, but it feels so right. Yes, yeah, it's this expansion and compression state. I'm right there with you. And I used to judge myself so much for melancholy, and I would experience deep shame around my unproductive days. And for me, shame was not like an emotional experience, it was a mental. My shame would go mental, and I would be very hard on myself as a recovering high achiever, right? So, like, oh my goodness, you're still here. And the process would just become longer. It was like, okay, she doesn't know how to surrender, how to see the wisdom. Let's just extend it to a week, right? Instead of one day, instead of 2 days. So then I said, okay, let me just welcome this sacred process and be there.
Recovering high achiever.
Recovering high achiever.
Recovering high achiever. I'm gonna steal so many, the way you're naming it is fantastic.
Yes.
What are you recovering from, Kirsty?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just enjoying this. It's hilarious. I think that actually you've got something there though. Just thinking, as you were both talking, I was thinking, this is, and I don't want to sort of label the patriarchy and that system, but it's that we've been divorced from nature, haven't we, over the last 2,000, 3,000 years, and now we're in this reconnection to nature where we can reframe things, and we can honor those cycles and create our working lives so that we can honor those cycles, and that's bloody exciting, I think. Excuse my French, but it really is. And this is what we were talking about earlier, creating, I was thinking about the way we, as children, as girls growing up, certainly for me it was, you work hard, you study, you go to university, you achieve, you get a good job. That was it. There was no other option. That was the pathway to success. There was no other option. Now I look at my daughter and I think, my goodness me, you can literally create your reality and your life, and I am cheering her on. For she's only 8, but I'm cheering her on from the sidelines, and that's the difference. We get to honor nature, honor our femininity, and connect with nature, and it's just, it's beautiful. It's not going to happen overnight, but I really feel we're the generation now to make these changes, and it's exciting. So, gosh, juicy conversations we're having, ladies, here. And we come to another one, which is, I'm so excited to ask you about this. You held retreats all over the world, Katerina, and still do, which in and of itself is exciting. So please tell us more. But I'm particularly interested in a sacred place that I know you hold deep in your heart, which is Egypt. And I know you're planning a retreat this year. Firstly, can I come, and when is it? I've had deep yearning the last 2-3 years to go to Egypt. So I went when I was 15, and I've not been back. That was a few years ago now, and I'm hearing about there's so much that seems to be activating there right now, and I'd love you to hear what your thoughts and feelings and experiences are. And how we can find out more about your retreats, please, my love.
Yes, so I lead Egyptian Mystery School. And after I led it last year, it was so powerful because there are 2 Egypts that exist simultaneously. There is an archetypal shamanic Egypt that exists on causal planes that we can access by inner voyaging, through ritual, through building relationship with neters, right, with all the deities. And then there is a physical Egypt that is a physical place with the physical structures. And I thought I was complete with Egypt after I went there last year. And for the last 3 years, I took large size group of mystics to Peru which is very Atlantean for me. Atlantis is my home, my home frequency. So when I went to Peru, I was like, this is Atlantean energy. I can really feel it. And the last journey there, I start hearing the heart of Egypt and how the Peru and the Egypt are connecting. They're kind of like through this vibrational radio, they're beating each other. And in the year 2020, I start hearing, because I'm clairaudient since birth. This is my strongest sense, my strongest psychic sense. I start hearing a phrase, return of the gods, return of the gods, return of the gods, specifically for Egypt. And I feel it is totally makes sense because of the so many mystics have been going to Egypt and activating the grids there, right? And activating the temples, because Egypt is a very very polarizing experience. You either love it or you hate it. You're like, oh my gosh, get me out of here. The same as India, the same as Russia, where I'm from, right? You can't be like, maybe I like it. No, it's in your face, the beauty and the ugliness. And you either are moved by that and transformed by that, or shocked and destabilized by that, right? So I find that Egypt for so many years have been a very struggling energetically, and everything that's been happening there. But the last few years, especially now that they finished the Grand Egyptian Museum, which took them 20 years to build, $1 billion to develop, $1 billion to build it. So when I saw that they finished it, I was like, I just want to go just for the museum. I'm a museum kind of person. I love seeing the collection of these ancient artifacts that tell a story and this whole new thing. So I was like, I want to go. And then my guide said, why don't you come back to the temples? Why don't you return to the temples? So I said, okay. And I announced Temples of Egypt, and already 8 people joined. I've never seen a group coming together in 1 week. 8 people joined. And I've been a retreat leader for the last 8 years. I've never seen this happen. So I said, okay, it looks like a beat is there and the pulse is there. And so we're going to be there on 11/11 portal, which is November 11. And I saw the power of 11/11 when I was there in 2020. This year comes up. I went to Tulum Pyramid, me and a sister priestess, and we sneaked behind the official pyramid place with our little altar, and we sneaked behind and found a little clearing and created an altar on 11/11 and manifested our deepest desires. We were both calling in partners. We were both calling in our sacred homes, and we both received an answer to that anchoring altar and anchoring prayer. So I became very curious about what happens when we manifest on a day that is collectively, people all over the world honor 11/11. Right? And it's like people all over the world honor equinoxes and solstices. So I said, why don't we go on 11/11? And why don't we really build an entire trip around that? So this is a journey where we go to the temples and we present ourselves to the temples as living entities. And we do preparation. So a couple of months before the trip, we study every temple, we study hieroglyphs. I'm obsessed with hieroglyphs lately as the language of light. So my intention is for us to learn to recognize at least 10 hieroglyphs and turn it into a game. Who will find the hieroglyph on the wall and and explain, because this is what used to happen in the temples. The temples were the living manual of enlightenment. So the priests and priestesses and the initiates of light would walk through the temple in a very reverent way and look at the hieroglyphs, and through their contemplation, the hieroglyphs come to light, almost like illuminate and open multidimensional portals. It's a symbolic consciousness. So the symbols activate your DNA and your memory of all of your past lives. And when you contemplate on the symbol, it was the same when I first saw an ankh. I did not know. My logical mind, my intellect was not turned on to the ankh yet. But the moment I saw it, my subconscious mind, my past lives, they're like, we know this symbol. What is the symbol? I need to have it now, right? And of course, the universe introduced me to an ankh master, like these two beings. And if you'd like connection with them, I would be happy to connect you. I just want to support their work, right? I don't get anything by promoting them. I simply honor the mastery of these beings. So they walk their path with humility. It's a husband and wife. I just lovingly call them ankh masters. And they work with copper and natural crystals. And they have a plenty of ankhs that you can choose, or they can design you one. I have two ankhs, one for my Peruvian trips, one for my Egypt trips. So literally the land tells me through dreams, create an ankh with these minerals, with these crystals, because that's what's going to support you by leading a pilgrimage, by bringing groups here. It opens energetics and opens the pathways for you. So it's really, really fascinating. So we're going to be doing temples of Egypt in a very mystical group. Everybody who is in the group is a mystic, which is really cool. And we can share our experiences and go together and ritualize. We'll be floating on the Nile and visiting all major temples. And we're going to do the hot air balloon at sunrise over Luxor, which I'm really looking forward to. Floating in the air, the hot air balloon, and greeting the sun.
It sounds massive. And as you start, you're sharing little snippets of the stories. There is that one question that we love to ask our guests, myself and Kirsty, which is, where are the angels, magic and joy? And you shared a little bit, but Katerina, your most, or the one that comes to your mind, angelic or magical experience that really maybe changed the course of your life, or maybe had transformational effect on you, or something that comes to your mind, something magical or angelic, something juicy.
Yeah, I would say meeting my beloved was truly a reflection of walking the path of the priestess. Priestess to me is not a title, it's a path that you walk on, as you know, right? You know it. And so I was a solo priestess, and was like, I would just go spontaneously in these years of celibacy, because it was just, there were no appropriate romantic matches for me at that time. So I said, okay, I'm going to be spontaneously celibate, or I'm so fulfilled in my relationship with the goddess that I was very, very self-contained and self-fulfilled, living highly erotic life in relationship with myself. And there was a time I reached a point where I realized I have learned all the lessons from the solitary life. And my next growth and my next curriculum was in partnership. So I began holding a prayer. And I remember I channeled this invocation. I call it the soulmate invocation. Just wrote down and I channeled the most sincere prayer of my heart. And I channeled it. And on one of the full moons, on the new moons, I read it out loud as Egyptian words of power. I like right words, right intonation, right sequence, right timing. So I channeled these words of power and released it into the ether. And then a couple more years went by, right? The divine timing had to be honored. It didn't just happen next day. The divine timing, but the magic, the angelic intervention was there. But a couple more years happened, and it was year 2024 where I realized this was the year I balanced my personal life and my collective service. And I said, my personal life matters too. And I was very into, I gave everything to service. Every last breath, every last coin, every last hour of my day is all to service. And then I said, it ends. because my personal life matters too, and I get to have fun on this human journey too. So I said, I am going to create space for just being in radical romance with myself. And I continue to let go of, of cleaning. Oh, where's my beloved? I just continue to shed that. And I reached the point of such wholeness within and such unity in my relationship with the goddess that I said, Divine Mother, I no longer ask. You know my thoughts. You know every cell that's moving through my body. I no longer need to ask you. I let go. And if I am meant to walk as a solo priestess for the rest of my days, and I'm just meant to take occasional lovers to make sure that my kundalini keeps moving, I am okay with that. So, and I just said, I am just going to take a lover. And I reached the point, I was like, I'm going to be single. It looks like it was 10 years. And I'm just going to take occasional lovers. And that's where I was when I met my beloved. I just said, without attachment, I'm just going to take on a lover. I'm just see. And the universe spoke through angels, through two of my sweet sister friends. And they said, have you been on that dating site? I was like, no. I was like, another person, have you checked out that dating site? Because the rest of them are so boring and so conventional. This one is unique and original. Check it out. And my intellect said no. And then I said, why am I so rigid? Why am I not open-minded? These two sisters, I respect them. They are embodied priestesses, and they give me an idea. They're like, what if the universe is speaking through them? So I got my intellect out, and I went on that website, and I wrote the most authentic profile I've ever written. And I published it. And the moment my profile went live, the matches start coming, and I see this black and white photo, these deep penetrating eyes. And I was like, this one. And I just sent him a little heart. There's a little heart. You gotta send a little heart. And then he matched with me, and I had to write the first message to start a conversation. But I couldn't send the message. The app would glitch and just freeze. So I was like, we matched. I need to send the first message for him to talk to me. But every time I try, the app glitches. So I'm trying to do it for 3 days. The app keeps glitches and it just freezes and freezes and freezes. So I say, this is so interesting. I keep trying because I read his profile, and it's plant medicine and photography and arts and divine union and just on the spiritual path and one's conscious relationship and this amazing being. And we matched, but for some reason the app kept glitches. So I said, okay, Spirit, if this is meant to happen, it's gonna happen. If not, it's not gonna happen. And then one day, this is at the end of day 3, the app still glitches. I was like, okay, fine, I'm just gonna delete the app. And at this moment, my message went through. The message went through, and he received my message. Oh my goodness. And this is how we met. And we are going to celebrate 2 years on March 27th, 2 years of our love and our divine union. And this was such a divine matchmaking. Again, using technology to meet people, being open-minded. For me, it was very rigid. I was very closed off to the idea. I've tried online dating before. I actually went on many dates, and before I was very resistant to that idea. I was like, no, he needs to find me. Let him find me in the grocery store, in the conference, in the public park. Nope, did not happen. So I was like, okay, maybe I get to open my mind to other approaches. And then I start seeing online dating is like Airbnb, right? You just go, like, just think about it, right? Online dating is like just Airbnb. You go to Airbnb to find the right place to stay. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Online dating is like a modern Airbnb. You just go and you meet people, right? And you just connect. I was like, oh, I can align to that. You know, it's not like wholly, or it's not a solution all to all, because you can have a good Airbnb experience or bad Airbnb experience. Just read the review, right? So it's the same here. Like we gotta read, you gotta read the energy and see. So this is my favorite story of how the best thing that I found on the internet is my beloved. And
Oh my goodness, that's absolutely precious and magical. Thank you for sharing that. I love it. I wonder were your guides testing your resolve those 3 days? I wonder how cheeky. Oh, but that's
they're
beautiful.
so cheeky. Yes.
They like to keep us on their toes. Well, happy anniversary for the 27th, and that's just so gorgeous to hear that. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you've mentioned Divine Mother several times, and you are also a published author, and your book, I believe, is entitled How I Met Divine Mother. Can you just tell us a little bit more? Can you give us a little bit of a teaser about your beautiful magical book, please, Katerina?
When I was leading a retreat in Peru, and we were journeying with ancestral medicine Vachuma there, the message came through, and Divine Mother said, as this beautiful, loving voice, and she said, out of many books that you're gonna write, will you write the first one about me? And I said, yes. And I said, how? And she said, just write about how we met. And so after I came back from Peru, what I did, I found the most beautiful paper, beautiful writing paper, the most beautiful pen. And I would sit outside under the tree, and I would write a love letter to Divine Mother. I would start with the question that I wanted to ask her. And then I would listen until I would hear a thought, I hear a voice of Divine Mother, and I would write down an answer. So the book is a collection of letters. And I write a little bit about the preview. It's all channeled writing, but it's really about how Divine Mother is that voice that is guiding us through the voice of the heart. And she is awakening in all of us. So the book is How I Met Divine Mother, because I don't think you can have a more powerful ally. Divine Mother Christy, since you and I in the business world, is my ultimate business advisor, my business mentor. She is the one that gives me instructions, divine instructions. Launch this, launch that, take this approach. And I ask her every morning, Divine Mother, how can I serve you today? What do you want me to bring? What is relevant for my community? What do you want to speak through me to them? Yeah, so that's what the book is about.
Yeah, I love that. I love that very much. I would do the same, that it's a ritual out of everything, that is not just forever, that there is a beauty, in just the way. It has to be perfect paper, beautiful pen, it makes the life so beautiful. Katerina, what's the best way people can, reach out to you, get hold of you, get in contact with you? We've got your website. We're going to put all the details in the show notes, but some people, they're easier to reach out, through Instagram or whichever is the best way to get you.
Yeah, I'm very active on my social media. So please, and I'm very approachable, very easy. Just knock on my DM and say, I saw you on the podcast. I welcome that interaction. And so I'm on Instagram, YouTube, and on Facebook, all personal profiles, Katerina Satori. I also have a gift for your audience, if that's okay for me to share. Yeah. I would like to give a sensitive soul bundle which is an ebook that I wrote. It's like a very short book in an ebook format that you can download. Sensitive Soul, a light worker guide to grounding your gifts in the time of transformation. So I wrote about how to manage your high sensitivity, how to channel your genius into concrete gifts that you can offer as a service, as a product. And the bundle comes with the book. It's like 20-page book that you can finish in 1 hour, and a video class where I actually give you the tools of how to manage your sensitivity, how to anchor yourself if you get overwhelmed by the world, which is increasingly becomes more and more overwhelming if we don't ground. This will be a video that you can just watch anytime, and so I'll give a link to you and you can share it with your audience. Yeah.
Thank you. That is so generous and kind and so much needed. So thank you. I'm sure that will go down so beautifully. Oh, Katerina, it has been an absolute joy to have your beautiful energy with us today, and we will put all of those lovely social media links. You are such a warm, approachable, beautiful soul, so thank you so much. It's been a delight, and I hope that everybody else has enjoyed you as much as Kate and I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, beautiful goddesses. I feel like I was in a magical coven together with you.
Oh, great. That was our intention. Thank you, my love, and thank you everybody for watching. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please give us a like or subscribe so that we continue to bring you beautiful guests such as Katerina. Have a beautiful, beautiful day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Bye.